No, keep
However,
consistent.
today has been a bit of an effort, shall we say?
Yeah, I think effort's the right word. I mean, you can't see the setup behind this lens. It is madness. I never knew the effort that would go into a podcast, let alone a video. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, the reason this is something that I've wanted to do for a few months now. Like, it's not just a spare of the moment thing. Like, oh, I've seen these podcasts. Let's go and do one of our own. The problem is, like I was saying then, the opportunities up north, especially for like travel bloggers, very niche, few and far between. I think a lot of travel bloggers actually live in Leeds, and the problem, I know it seems
Leeds,
right.
it's just
Well,
like...
I keep looking at loads of travel blogs. It's like Leeds,
mad.
and it's a bit too far away to be going, this is on our doorstep.
Yeah.
And you look at say, one of my I got inspiration. One of my favourite podcasts is the True Geordie podcast, so shout out to him. Absolutely fantastic. He's really honest, he's really open, he just kind of
seems like
shoots,
a decent bloke.
shoots the shit, says it how it is. And at the moment he's got, you know, a lot of guests on there. He recently interviewed like Robbie Williams, Kieran Dyer, Alan Shearer, you know, all these big names. And to be able to do that but maybe put a travel spin on it would be fantastic. I don't want to copy him exactly, because obviously there's various
I don't think you could even copy him. Like, he's just him, and like there's no way you could sort of encapsulate how he performs a podcast. It's just like so unique to himself.
It is. I mean, it's fantastic really. Like, he's just kind of, he's come out of left field and he doesn't make as much advertising revenue because they don't like that he swears, and he's a bit crass, but he's just different, isn't he? He's unique,
full on,
and that's what draws you to him. And I've taken a lot of inspiration from him, and I've done 2 degrees at university, both in journalism, and to be able to kind of, I suppose a podcast is, we've got a guest on next week, but we're going down that route of, you know, interviewing people that's like sort of got a lot of journalistic attributes, and you're going to have a bit of a baptism of fire.
Yeah. Well, you know, start in the deep end, they say.
Throw yourself in.
Yeah, got to.
Well, that's it. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna just kind of leave you hanging or anything, or force you to ask any questions. But we'll hope. I just want this podcast to be a chat. So I don't want it to be like a, you know, how many miles have you cycled? How you know, how many countries have you been to? And then they just answer, and that's it. You know, not gathering sort of sound bites for a newspaper article. I want it to be a chat. I want it to be fun. I want, you know, everyone to get involved. And if anyone's out there who might be watching this, you've got any interesting travel stories to tell, or you know, you've got something that's really relevant to travel, we'd love to have you on.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think it matters if you're like famous or anything, because I think a travel story is still a great travel story, and we just want sort of the platform to sort of showcase it, I think.
Oh, that's it. Like, I'm not saying David Attenborough come on our show.
You know, if you fancy.
imagine his voice. Imagine like if we could hear his voice straight to our ears.
Jesus.
That'd be incredible. But, you know, there's him, like people like Bear Grylls. You know, we're not aiming for these people, but, you know, if there's people who have the people we've got on next week have got a really cool story. I won't give it away.
Yeah.
Leave it to be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
They've got a really cool story. You know, it's going to have a lot of probably a few emotional minutes in there as 100%. Well. But they're not famous. They're not well known, but they're doing something really cool. They're going places, and it'll be really interesting to speak to them and see what they've got. So I've got high hopes for this podcast. What the one thing you've got to kind of, I suppose, be careful of or be wary of is consistency, because it's easy to turn up today.
Yeah, 100%. The first one is always the easiest one to do, and then it's repeating it like week in, week out, keep going for a whole year. Like the years, like once you get past a year and you've made it like a routine, that's when you've sort of got it nailed. But it's keeping that like first sort of, I'd say like the first, it's like keeping in a healthy routine so difficult, but I think like once you've done 2 months of something, then it'll just stick.
Yeah, and you've also got to, I mean, you've got to promote yourself, but you've hopefully got to have some views, some subscribers there, and I'm not trying to like pretend we're gonna have 1 million by this time next year. But you know, it hopefully, you know, few people watch, few people like what they hear, and you know, today we're just sort of introducing ourselves.
Just the chit chat, isn't it?
And then in future weeks we'll have a few guests on, and obviously we've got just the two of us to fall back on if that goes to pot.
Hopefully we're interesting enough for you guys out there as well.
Well, let's hope anyone's actually listening.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you imagine? How far are we into? I'm looking at straight down the GoPro there. 16:41, and that's been recording 3 or 4 minutes already before we even started.
That's mad.
But going back to the podcast setup, absolutely incredible. I mean, you see, I suppose it's quite seamless when you watch them on YouTube, because they walk into a studio that's ready made.
100%.
We've literally, this is a pop-up studio at best.
Pop-up studio is a good way to describe it. Just sort of, it's mad.
It's the charity shop of studios, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know, charity shop. Yeah, no, 100%.
But I mean, we've bought the camera, the equipment, so like the microphones, the leads, we're kind of winging it a bit as well. I've bought an audio interface.
Oh God,
I can't even remember what this is called, but it's basically a headphone box. That's what I'm going to call it.
The headphone box.
The headphone box, because it's where the headphones plug into.
I think that's the easiest way. Sometimes the easiest names to remember are the ones that'll just stick, won't they? Tom, you got the headphone box? Yeah, yep. It's just in the bag.
Headphone box. Power Surge. Oh God. What do you call them? Leads, adapter. The plug, you know, like the multi-plug.
The multi-plug
thing. That was like $8.99. You know, but as you say, you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah, they do indeed.
The worst thing is, like, again, you can't see, but all the wires on the floor. I mean, in a studio, like, all this is streamlined. Everything will have its place.
Yeah.
We've kind of come into an empty classroom and.
Shh, not classroom.
An empty. Technically not a classroom.
Technically not a classroom.
What an empty room in this.
Empty room. Facility. If you could hear that was just Tom dropping his bottle cap on I could hear it so loud in my headphones.
That'll definitely be on. Like, yeah, I even heard it when I put that down, but we're kind of winging it at the moment. I've never recorded a podcast before, never done anything like. We had a little thing last week where we filmed a video in similar surroundings, but we didn't have all the audio involved. We just had the shotgun mic on the DSLR. And
this is completely new to me. Like, it's bizarre hearing your own voice as well. That's something I never ever got used to. Like, when you put your hands over your ear and you sort of just about hear yourself. This is just next level, but it's cool. It's epic.
I think a lot of people who know me will probably disagree with me if I said what you just said, because probably love hearing the sound of my voice a bit too much. No, I'm not that bad, but it is. I can understand it's weird, but I mean, I've been doing a few vlogs on YouTube. I've edited things. I mean, my vlogs aren't amazing yet by any stretch of the imagination, but I edit that much. I hear myself speak. Yeah. I'm just used to it now.
Used to it. Well, I'll get used to it eventually. Like 3 weeks down the line, will be like second nature to me.